On July 4th, 1845, a 27-year-old Harvard graduate walked into the woods near Concord, Massachusetts with an axe, some borrowed tools, and a radical idea. He built a small cabin on the shore of Walden Pond for just $28.12. He owned almost nothing, worked only 6 weeks a year, and discovered something that would change philosophy forever. His name was Henry David Thoreau, and what he learned in those woods is the exact opposite of everything modern society tells you about success. Today, we're going to break down why living simply isn't just smart, it might be the only way to actually live at all. Let's start with Thoreau's most famous observation. He wrote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation." Think about that for a second. Quiet desperation, not screaming, obvious misery, but a silent suffering that people mistake for normal life. Thoreau watched his neighbors in Concord wake up before dawn, work jobs they hated, buy things they didn't need, all to maintain a lifestyle that required them to keep doing it forever. They were trapped in a cycle, and most of them didn't even realize it. Sound familiar? The average American works 260 days a year to afford a lifestyle that requires them to work 260 days a year. We buy bigger houses that need more furniture, more cleaning, more maintenance. We upgrade our cars every few years, adding monthly payments we'll spend decades paying off. We accumulate possessions that end up owning us. Thoreau saw this pattern 180 years ago, and he asked a simple question: what if we just didn't? So Thoreau conducted an experiment. He moved to Walden Pond, not to escape society entirely, but to strip life down to its essentials and see what remained. His cabin was 10 feet by 15 feet, about the size of a modern hotel room. It had a bed, a desk, 3 chairs, and a small fireplace. That's it. He grew beans, potatoes, corn, and turnips. He fished. He walked in the woods. He read constantly. He wrote nearly every day. And here's the kicker. He calculated that he only needed to work about 6 weeks per year to cover all his expenses. 6 weeks. The rest of his time. Completely his own. Thoreau kept meticulous financial records, and they're fascinating. His total expenses for 8 months came to $61.99. That included building the cabin. His food cost him $8.74 because he grew most of it. He spent more on books than on groceries. Now, obviously we can't translate $1,845 directly to today, but the principle remains. When you eliminate the unnecessary, you need far less money. And when you need less money, you need to sell far less of your time. Thoreau wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone." Here's where it gets psychological. Thoreau wasn't just making an economic argument, he was making a statement about human nature and freedom. We think we want things. A new phone, a bigger TV, a nicer car. But Thoreau argued that these wants are manufactured. They're not coming from within you. They're being implanted by society, by advertising, by keeping up with neighbors. And every time you act on one of these manufactured wants, you trade your freedom for it. Modern psychology backs this up completely. It's called the hedonic treadmill. You buy something, get a brief spike of happiness, then quickly return to baseline. So you buy the next thing, and the next. You're literally running in place, getting nowhere, but you can't stop because stopping feels like failure. Thoreau wrote, "Most of the luxuries, and many of the so-called comforts of life, are not only not indispensable, but positive hindrances to the elevation of mankind." Think about your phone. Useful tool or hindrance? How many hours do you lose to it each day? How often does it elevate you versus distract you? Or your wardrobe? How many items of clothing do you actually wear? How many are just taking up space, requiring organization, creating clutter in your mind? Thoreau's point wasn't that all possessions are bad, it's that every single thing you own costs more than you think. It costs money, yes, but it also costs attention, maintenance, mental energy, physical space, and the ultimate cost, time, the one resource you can never get back. So what's the alternative? Thoreau called it living deliberately. And this might be the most important concept in the entire book. He wrote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." Read that last part again. Not discover that you had not lived. How many people reach 40, 50, 60 and realize they've been on autopilot the entire time, working jobs they tolerated, buying things they didn't need, following a script someone else wrote? Living deliberately means constantly asking, is this necessary? Does this align with what I actually value? Am I choosing this, or just doing it because everyone else is? Thoreau practiced this ruthlessly. He didn't have a mortgage because he didn't want to spend 30 years paying for a house. He didn't buy fancy clothes because they didn't improve his life. He didn't attend social events that bored him just to maintain appearances. This wasn't misanthropy. Thoreau regularly walked into town, saw friends, engaged with his community, but he did it on his terms, not society's terms. Modern minimalism tries to capture this idea, but often misses the point. It's not about having exactly 100 possessions or living in a tiny house. It's about intentionality. Every single choice. Ask yourself, what would happen if you eliminated everything in your life that you do out of obligation rather than genuine desire? What if you only kept the possessions that serve a clear purpose? What if you only maintained relationships that energize you rather than drain you? You'd probably discover what Thoreau discovered. You need far less than you think to be not just content, but genuinely fulfilled. Let's talk about what you're actually giving up when you choose complexity over simplicity. First, mental bandwidth. Your brain has limited processing power. Every possession you own, every commitment you make, every open loop in your life takes up RAM in your mental computer. Research shows that clutter in your physical environment creates clutter in your mind. It's not woo-woo psychology, it's measurable. People in cluttered spaces have higher cortisol levels, worse focus, and more anxiety. Second, opportunity cost. Every hour you spend working to pay for things is an hour you can't spend doing something else. Thoreau chose beans and books over a conventional career because he'd rather read philosophy than accumulate furniture. What are you choosing? Is it actually a choice, or just what you've been programmed to do? Third, presence. This is the big one. The more complicated your life, the less present you can be. You're always thinking about the next thing, the next payment, the next obligation, the next upgrade. Thoreau spent hours just sitting by Walden Pond, watching the water, observing nature. Modern people would call this doing nothing. Thoreau called it living. He wrote, "I love a broad margin to my life. A margin, space, room to breathe. When was the last time you had genuine margin in your life?" And here's the thing, simplicity doesn't mean poverty or deprivation. Thoreau ate well. He had what he needed. He lived comfortably. The difference is that he needed very little to be comfortable, so he could spend his time on what actually mattered to him. Compare that to the modern approach. Work 40 to 60 hours a week for 40 years to retire and finally have free time when you're too old to fully enjoy it. Thoreau flipped the script. He took his freedom first. So how do you actually apply this? You probably can't move to the woods and build a cabin, but you can adopt Thoreau's principles. Number 1. Track where your time actually goes for 1 week. Not where you think it goes, where it actually goes. Thoreau kept detailed records. You should too. You'll be shocked at how much time disappears into activities you don't value. Number 2. Calculate your real hourly wage. Take your salary and divide it by all the hours you actually spend on work, including commuting, preparing, decompressing, and the time spent buying things to cope with work stress. Your real hourly wage is probably half what you think it is. Then ask, what am I buying with these hours? Is it worth it? Number 3. Run the subtraction experiment. Instead of adding more to your life, try removing. Remove 1 commitment. Remove 1 subscription. Remove 1 category of possessions. See what happens. Most people discover they don't miss what they removed. Number 4. Design your environment for the life you want, not the life you have. Thoreau built his cabin for thinking and writing. What is your environment built for? Consumption, distraction, or creation and presence? And finally, give yourself permission to want different things than society wants for you. You don't need the career, the house, the car, the lifestyle that everyone else is chasing. Thoreau proved that almost 200 years ago. Thoreau wrote, "If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away." The smartest decision you can make isn't to accumulate more, it's to need less, to live deliberately, to create margin in your life, to actually live before you die. Thoreau left Walden Pond after 2 years and 2 months, not because the experiment failed, but because he had other lives to live, other experiences to explore. He proved his point. A simple life isn't a limited life, it's a free life. The question is, are you ready to prove it for yourself? If this changed how you think about your life, subscribe to Mindros for more deep dives into psychology, philosophy, and living deliberately. And remember, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. You don't have to be one of them.